All right, welcome back, everyone. Look, I just saw part 1 of the making of Uncharted 4, pushing technical boundaries. Now, I always like talking about tech stuff when it's related to games. That stuff always interested me. That's why I always dive deep into any GDC stuff. Now, the only thing about part 1 was that it didn't focus too much on the meat of what they're doing technically. Yeah, they did say that there's 10 times more space now in a lot of areas in Uncharted 4, but they didn't focus on the very specific things that they're able to do. So hopefully part 2 does that. So let's go ahead. Enough of me talking. It's a 7.5-minute video, so...
Anytime that you switch platforms, it's going to be a huge struggle, but I think, especially for us, this time was very difficult.
What we had on the previous Uncharted games and on The Last of Us was written for the cell architecture, and it was all optimized for that. But the PlayStation 4 just does things differently.
The whole studio, like tools, everything, it's a massive challenge to push content
this guy
that
looks
now
like
needs
Nathan
to
Drake.
fill like 8 gigs versus the 256 or 512 megs that were on the PS3.
You have all this memory, you have all this new processing power, so I knew that there would be a step up. I think I was surprised, and I think a lot of people in the studio were surprised by just how big that leap was going to be.
First kind of starting, we asked the question of PlayStation 4, what can we do?
And for me, there were always new things that there were still left to put in the game, like how do you put a vehicle in Uncharted and still make it Uncharted?
Oh, this was really a great idea, Nate. Do you want to drive? No, you're doing just fine.
It's been a challenge because we really wanted to feel like the interaction is causing things to happen. So
amazing.
Whenever it's driving over dusty terrain,
yeah, these spaces are a lot more
of
open.
Dust kick up, and then say you go into a muddy section, the effects are going to communicate that too. If the tires spin out, then they're going to kick up a lot of mud and the vehicle's going to get muddy. And we just want to have that connection between this vehicle that you're controlling and the environment that you're in.
Can we do the convoy sequence from Uncharted 2 and 3, but now I'm in control of that vehicle at the same time?
And driving through a dense urban city, driving quickly, is quite a challenge because you're looking at all that geometry and all that complexity just flying by you, but you can't halfway do it because you'll know. So we have to spend so much time thinking about the people that are populating the scene, the signs in the scene, the vegetation in the scene, and even though that stuff's flying by, it's got to be convincing.
Yeah.
We're trying to make the gameplay experience more rich by basically giving the player more choices. So we've added our rope mechanics, so that's not just a gimmick, like that's fully integrated into just about all of our gameplay encounters.
Obviously the rope has a huge effect on combat, so we've got melee moves that come out of rope, using the rope to traverse the space to get an advantage, either in open combat or in stealth.
One thing I really appreciated that like, Bruce kind of brought around from the beginning was, let's explore the meat and potatoes of this game again. Let's get back to just like what is the core gameplay of this. We know we're gonna get the set pieces. We know we're gonna have these big things and we're gonna push that as well. But get back into our gut of like, what is Uncharted? What is the traversal gunplay?
What we wanted to do with the combat is really push the things that are unique to Drake, the things that are unique to him as a character. And one of the main things that Drake can do is just he has this amazing ability to traverse through the environment. The climbing system in Uncharted 4 has been completely overhauled. We've come up with a system that gives just an unprecedented amount of fine control over Drake as he climbs.
That's cool.
Have full analog control over both of his hands to put his hand exactly on the rock, on the handhold where you want it to be, and fluidly go from one climb to another. We're also able to integrate Drake into the environment a lot more. When he's climbing on the outside of a vehicle, he's moving with that vehicle, with his weight on that vehicle on top of the animation. So it's something that the PlayStation 4 gives us so much more memory. That tends to be our biggest constraint in animation, is just trying to fit all this motion, all this animation in memory.
In the past, for example, when you had a character traversing with you, that character's traversal was scripted. Like once you moved here, they would move in these very specific ways. Now actually it's very systemic, and both the enemies and your allies can view the terrain in kind of this 3D space.
When you have big spaces and you have the mobility of Nathan Drake, you gotta have mobility within your AI.
There's a lot of really nuanced decision making.
That's that Scotland or England place, right?
How exposed an AI is as they're taking a flank route. They now have this like really complex knowledge of the exposure to the player's vision as they're taking a flank route, and they will kind of dynamically decide, okay, this is actually a better route because there's more cover along this route.
We didn't want a game where you just sit behind one piece of cover and just, sitting there and the stop and pop, you're sitting there and shooting. We really wanted you to...
Too many games do that now.
Move through the environment.
Uncharted 4 used to do that.
Them, to
specifically
them,
Uncharted 1.
To be able to chase you around and just have that constant motion.
The enemies are smarter. We've taken a lot of the stealth elements from The Last of Us and brought those in, so the player has more choices in combat. You can actually avoid an enemy, lose their line of sight, and just sneak past them and not even have to encounter them.
Like it used to be that you're either in stealth or you're in combat. And now there's these kind of varying levels of stealth. They go into investigate when they think they've seen you, but they're not 100% sure. Then they'll go into combat once they find you. And once they lose you after combat, they'll go into search, where they'll kind of canvass the area looking for you.
A lot of that scripting is still up to the designers, but we've given them so much better tools in order to achieve that.
We always had contextual moves where you could slam guys into a wall and beat them up. Enemies are able to do that to you as well. You'll have moves and kind of fight situations where two enemies are attacking you at once. It's not in like a scripted way. It can happen kind of in any
See the reaction on his face when you see Sully.
There's a lot of new tools in the player's disposal, but what's cool is that they're kind of added in this way that's elegant enough to not, explode the game with HUD and all these like crazy options that are difficult to learn. It's very much that same kind of seamless, very smooth Uncharted experience where we get a lot of gameplay from relatively few mechanics.
And having really gorgeous animations that feels very rooted and grounded, but at the same time gives you the responsiveness. You're gonna get to play this. We're showing off in a way of just like, look how gorgeous this can be. Look at what we can do. Look at the colors, look at the scenes, look at the environments that you're gonna get to explore, and you're gonna get to have that on the stick.
You get to have it on the stick. Damn. See, that was so much better for so many reasons, because they focused on a lot of different aspects of what the game is able to do now technically, not only because of the PS4, obviously that they did focus on that a little bit, about how the PS3, the cell processor and all that stuff, really the memory, they weren't able to do a whole lot with that. I think it was 500 and something megs or something, but with this one, with as many gigs as it has, I think it's 8, they're able to do so much more, and specifically they focus on animation. And animation takes up so much space because it has to be able to interact with the environment and lighting and all of that stuff. So it takes up a lot. Each animation takes up a lot of things, a lot of space. And not only that, but they talked about how now that they have the PS4, everyone is able to do unique animations. Not only Nathan Drake, not only Sam or your partner, but also all the enemy AI. So they're able to have also unique animations too, depending on how you interact with them. And now they talked a little bit about how melee combat is very, very just interactive, I guess you can call it. It's not as, okay, one animation is for a swing and it's not random. It's very much like, it very much prioritizes where you land a certain punch or where you swing, and I want to see that incorporated. I think the Nadine Nathan Drake fight, I think during PSX they showed this off, and there was a moment right at the end before it cut to black where they're standing in front of each other and they're about to fight. Now I think that will be a testament to how well they really incorporate the new melee combat and see exactly how it works. So if Nathan goes and swings with his right, on the hip or on the leg, or goes and kicks, the actual enemy AI reacts to that exact movement and reacts to that exact hit in that exact spot. So that's very important. I'm sure that a lot of sports games or a lot of boxing games do that too. They've already incorporated that technology. But to incorporate it in melee combat inside a game that looks this beautiful, that is so interactive, there's so many things going on at once, is extremely impressive. So I think that's one of the biggest steps that they've been able to do with this new game is animation. And once you start playing that game, it'll be just, everything will feel so much more alive because the animations are so much more fluid. You don't feel like you're controlling a robot anymore. Obviously, that's a little bit of a stretch. Controlling a robot, it didn't feel like that during Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3 or even 1. But still, you could tell that there was a limited amount of animations that Nathan Drake can pull off. Now with Uncharted 4, the possibility is not endless, but I mean, they have so many more options. So there's so many unique, combinations of things that can happen. And I think I read somewhere about how they can control the camera in a certain way, and how the camera is procedurally generated to focus on where the next enemy is or where the next threat is. So I think in the previous part, or part 1 and a little bit of part 2, there were moments where you're focusing on one enemy and you go for a finishing move, and then suddenly the camera pans over to the next threat, or frames the next threat also with the threat that you have right now. So if you're focusing on somebody here, the camera might make some nice little movements to have the other enemy type or the other enemy AI come into frame, so therefore you can quickly go into a shooting motion or whatever. And you saw that in the very first gameplay footage we ever saw of Uncharted 4, where he swings down on the rope, lands on somebody, and suddenly the camera just pans over. I think that was forced. I don't think that was you yourself reacting to gunshots or whatever. It's actual. So I feel like there's going to be moments where there's a lot of interactive gameplay, but there's going to be a lot of footage being released online of in crazy combinations of fighting and of action, and we're going to see it with the set pieces, of course, but in the gameplay, in the core mechanics, in the stuff that's minute to minute stuff, not the set pieces that you'll have to wait like an hour or half an hour for, right? Just the meat of the game is going to have so many cool things to offer us that we're going to have to stop at some points in amazement to see exactly what we're looking at and see if it's actually true. And that's what I think what PlayStation 4 and what the next generation consoles are going to be able to do. Not only have beautiful environments, beautiful, just beautiful looking Nathan Drake's or Lara Croft's or whatever, but also beautiful fluid animations. And you saw that with that rope mechanic too. That rope part was probably the most impressive part. I know it's a very small, minuscule type thing to focus on, but it's a very, very cool thing. The rock formations looked great. The rope, the animation of him, swinging with the rope was really, really seemed accurate to me. And there were some really nice details in there. I want to be able to focus in depth and see exactly what that new footage shows us. But there was some really, really cool stuff on just something as mundane as just swinging on the rope and rock climbing. Now, I mean, controlling the analog stick actually moves Nathan Drake's hands to certain areas of the rock. So it actually gives you more possibilities in climbing it. So actually rock climbing is going to be fun. Swinging with the rope is going to be fun. And those were the things that were probably least fun out of all the other games, right? That's why they didn't have that many opportunities to do it in. But I feel like now that very basic things are so much fun to do and so fluid and so natural that it's going to create a more robust gaming experience, and that's what Uncharted 4 I think is going to be. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought about part 2. I did a whole lot of rambling. I'm known to do that. It's fine. But from what I've seen and what I keep on seeing, Uncharted 4 is going to be fantastic. I think there's one more making of video, part 5 or part 6. I don't know. But man, this game just blows me away every time I see it. I can't wait to see what developers are going to be able to do with something like this, with great animation, with great art direction, but in like an open world environment. Even though open worlds gaming is such a common thing now, but I want to see if they're going to be able to incorporate everything that Naughty Dog's incorporating into this game, but put it on a bigger scale. Just put it on a massive scale. Maybe the next Grand Theft Auto 6 might have that, but who knows? Anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and of course, if you hate me, you know what to do. If you love me, you know what to do. And that's it. I think I covered everything. Whatever. I'll see you guys all later.